Well, our chief reporter, Kaveh Solhekol, and former Aston Villa midfielder Lee Hendrie have joined me on set. Good evening, gentlemen. Kaveh, let's start with you. A lot of people at home will be saying, how come Ivan Toney couldn't train with Brentford, but Sandro Tonali can train with Newcastle?
Well, look, I think every case is different, and one of the differences in this case is that, of course, Ivan Toney was playing for a club in the Premier League in England, so his case was dealt with by the Football Association. Whereas what Tonali has done was while he was playing in Italy. So his case has been dealt with by the Italian Federation and Italian prosecutors. Also, the difference, I think, is that when it came to processes, the FA's processes appear to have been a lot more rigid than what has happened in Italy. Because in Italy, it seems like there was an element of plea bargaining going on between the player and the federation and the prosecutors. He was cooperating with them, and that means he's got a more lenient sentence. Whereas with the FA and Ivan Toney, it was a very, very strict process. He was charged. It went to a regulatory commission, an independent commission, where the FA presented their case, and then Ivan Toney's lawyers presented the case for the defence, and then the commission decided what the punishment was going to be. So there are big differences, but I hear what you're saying, because Ivan Toney for 4 months was not allowed to even train. He was not allowed to go to Brentford's training ground, whereas it appears as if Tonali is going to be able to train with Newcastle United.
Yeah, Lee, I want to bring you in. I want you to give us the human side of this. Look, I hope you don't mind, but we all know that you had some dark times, in your football career. So no competitive football for Tonali for 10 months, even though he can train with the guys. How hard is that going to be?
It's going to be, it really is going to be tough for him, isn't it? I think first and foremost, we have to take into consideration this is an illness that he has. We've seen Paul Merson speak quite freely about his problems that he went through, and I was reading bits on what Merce had to say about it. First and foremost, he needs the help. That's going to be massive for Tonali. It really is. But going back to your first question, is that I think the thing here, that just listening to what the situation is and what he's allowed to do, and obviously he can still go in and train. That's going to keep him active. It's going to keep him part of the group. And obviously I've heard that he's going over to Italy to help younger players and understand the fact that he has done wrong. Because yes, there has to be a punishment for what he's done. But I like the fact that they're putting all of this in place and they're going about it correctly, because I do feel that yes, there has to be a punishment in line, but you have to feel of the players' welfare, the understanding of how he's going to feel of over this. Because, listen, people go through certain situations. I've been through situations myself, and probably didn't have the help. It's good to see that they're looking at and they're addressing every single corner of this situation, that obviously it's going to be really tough for the player.
How did you get through it? Your problems?
Listen, you need friends, you need family, you need to talk about things, and he's openly, admitted that he has a problem, which is brave. It really is, because it's not easy to come out and actually say that you have a problem, and it needs addressing. Yes, it's come to the forefront where he might have had to address that problem, but lots of people hide the fact that, it doesn't matter how much money you earn or what you do, if you have got an underlying problem and you continue to do that and you hide that fact away, then, when it comes out, it's public. Everybody knows about it. People are going to obviously talk about him in certain ways, and people are going to, put an arm around him and comfort him, and he needs that. I think that's the big thing that I did. I talked about my problems. I addressed it in the end. It was hard. It was difficult, because you have the embarrassment as well that you have to overcome. And that's really big, as men, as any person, a human being, you have to overcome them situations. And that's the most difficult part of it. You need good people around you, you need the help, you need the support. And that's what I had to guide me through the dark times where I was rock bottom.
The only other point I would make is, I think there are questions to be asked about football's relationship with gambling, because we see so many players now playing in shirts emblazoned with betting companies, all the adverts around the stadiums, the adverts on TV as well, and the fact that quite a few club owners have made their fortunes and continue to make their fortunes from the gambling industry. So I think that is a debate that needs to be had, and I think a lot of people are talking about it. I would also make the point that some of our older viewers may think that these new generation of players are getting off lightly because they may remember some of the old cases. I'm thinking back to the 1960s when 3 Sheffield Wednesday players put on one bet, £50, on their team to lose against Ipswich Town. And they put that bet on because they always seemed to lose to Ipswich. They still tried their best in that game. 2 years later, they were exposed in a Sunday newspaper article. And I think they went to prison for 4 months and they were banned for life.
Wow.
Banned for life from football. I think after 10 years, the bans were lifted, but basically their careers were over. So attitudes towards betting have changed a lot. But I think we still need to have that debate about the relationship between gambling companies and football. Although I should say that in the Premier League, betting companies won't be able to have their adverts on the front of shirts from the 2025-26 season.
Now, you say attitudes have changed, but not enough if you listen to Paul Merson, because Mersons tweeted today and he said this: another ban for an illness that is still not taken seriously enough for me. Over 1 life a day is taken from gambling, and we still don't help people. People will be scared to ask for help soon, and that is sad. Please sit down and try to understand this illness and help people, not ban them, please. Lee, what do you think about what Paul Merson said?
It's strong, isn't it? It's powerful what Merce says, because he's been there, he's wore the T-shirt, he's had his real downs in life. There's no doubt that it's been well documented, and he's been brave enough to come out and you know, speak and share his journey, really. You know, I've been around Paul many seasons at Aston Villa, and you know, he can be the life and soul of everything. He still can be on Soccer Saturday. You know, we just see what he's all about. But he states a really big point. You know, that, you know, you look at the gambling situations, you look at the mental health situations, and is there quite enough support out there for people to come forward and, you know, actually address these issues? I don't think there is, and that's why I think Paul's, you know, certainly stated this statement. I think it was on Twitter today that he said that, and he's right. You know, it's a really difficult situation. We're just touching on past players that have been banned, gone to prison, but you know, I don't feel that the help and the support has quite been identified for gambling as such. And as we said, we're utilising, you know, the gambling advertisements on shirts. You know, lots of these things need addressing, but you know, when you start banning players and you take that away from them, obviously myself finishing football and didn't know where to go, this is a similar sort of incident. So it's got to be addressed very carefully, and this is where we're caught in a predicament where every angle has to be covered and it has to be done correctly, because obviously the players are going to suffer. And as I said, this, and Paul has said, this is an illness and it needs helping.
And also a lot of players get into gambling because they've got a lot of free time on their hands. After they finish training at lunchtime, you know, in the afternoons, what have you got to do? Okay, have a bet. Now, by banning somebody from playing football, you're almost giving them more free time. So how is that going to solve the problem?
Yeah, it is a massive problem. Gentlemen, thank you both very much for that. Much appreciated. Now, if you've been affected by any of the issues we've discussed, support is available. Please head over to skysports.com/viewer support. There is help there for you.